Greetings, fellow armchair Imagineers. Blue Dragon 5 here.
And Jacob Wile too.
Ladies and gentlemen, as we find ourselves in the midst of Disney's big venture into the world of streaming, having started a war in the process, we thought it'd be nice to stay up to date on the ever growing catalog and rule on what's a must or a bust on Disney Plus. And tonight, as you probably guessed, we're talking Moon Knight, but not just Moon Knight. At this stage in our journey, we are at episode 3, the friendly type. So join us as we talk some Moon Knight.
Moonlight under the moonlight.
Yep, by the pale moonlight. Look at him in his little suit tap dancing. All right. So, Jacob, so you're joining us on our little show here. Tell us, man, how have you been? We're at the halfway mark. What do you think?
The show's pretty. It's definitely a different take from different of the MCU so far. I mean, definitely a different direction from what I was expecting, and I'm really enjoying it so far.
Yeah, me too. I've been really blown away with it. I really think this might be the optimistic, kind of glass half full hope here, but I like to think that we've been taking away a lesson from these Disney Plus shows each time we've gone in, and I think we're finally hitting the mark of one of the initial goals of the Disney Plus series, which essentially are like 6-hour movies. This so far feels like the most cinematic. I mean, Hawkeye made major strides toward this, but I think. See, like Falcon Winter Soldier again was kind of like, well, it feels like a movie, but it's like 4.5 hours versus 6 hours, which kind of bugs me. And then you have Hawkeye, which is very close, but we kind of compromised some footing, building towards certain reveals, which were great, but still, And now we've been getting more cinematic as we've gone along. And Moon Knight, as I've said so far, and I still feel this way, it feels like we've been building like great kind of 3-act momentum in our 6-episode breakdown so far. The first 2 episodes being Act 1. I think we're in the midst of Act 2, and I think our finale is probably going to be kind of a 2 parts of 5 and 6. This is the vibe I'm getting so far, at least.
Ironically, WandaVision, which is based on television, is one of the more cinematic ones of all of them.
I know, yeah, that's the weird one because we're literally blending. It very much feels like TV, but again, that definitely has its cinematic. It's a blend, but that's the whole point of WandaVision, which I'm sure will also maybe blend into Doctor Strange too. But we'll see how that one goes.
Mm. Yep.
But yeah, I like that our plot. It seems very direct at this point. Haro, he's trying to revive a myth. Very very simple through line. Little scarab leads to a myth. Very kind of Raiders-esque, and we're gonna dig him up, and we're gonna bring her. I guess I think it's a her. I think a myth's female, but we'll find out. Point Egyptian god. And I like seeing the trio of personalities, at least trio so far. There's some speculation that we have more on the way, which there were more in the comics, so we shall see. It's a trio of personalities conflicting and working together amidst the circumstances. And I'll admit I'm not 100% on on the big trial scene we had this episode, but otherwise, again, I'm still loving the show. I'm still very much on the hook for what's going to happen to Mark Spector and Stephen Grant and Khonshu next.
Yep. Should be fun.
Oh yeah. So I guess to start things off, we had some really great action at the top here. What we have, like, for example, we left off with Mark Spector in charge of his own body for a change, and like we're following him this time instead of like playing catch up with Steven. So we get to see Mark Spector, mercenary extraordinaire, get some answers and kick some butt. What do you think of that?
That was pretty interesting. I mean, a lot of the other times, like cut away from Steven as Mark took over, so we never really got to see him in action. We only got to see the aftermath, which in of itself was pretty effective. but seeing him in action was like something else. Seeing him take out those thugs was, and also dealing with Khonshu at the same time.
Again, I think the thing I keep marveling at with this show is just, for sure. I keep marveling at with our Marvel show is again just kind of our build of momentum, the fact that we're kind of the way we've been pacing this and sparsing things out, which I mean it might be a make or break for some folks, but for me it's I just love the fact that okay, so we built up to we use the action selectively. Like, we don't put Moon Knight in costume until usually the climax. I mean, it feels kind of like we're playing by the Incredible Hulk rules of the '70s show, in which the Hulk shows up twice to once per episode. We build to that sort of thing.
Yep, makes sense.
And I like that elsewhere. Falcon Winter Soldier had a similar kind of issue to this, where Falcon Winter Soldier, there's infamously the halfway point for that show was an episode in which there were no costumes or anything, in which it's like, okay, so we're gonna, they're going to Madripoor, which oddly we mentioned this episode, which is kind of funny. Which, by the way, this is what I'm talking about, Jacob. Just in terms of how sparingly we're using everything. Moon Knight, to a big feather in its cap, is that we're probably the most disconnected we've been from the MCU in a long, long time. At the very least, not hamstrung by it like the Eternals. One can make the argument very disconnected, but it's maybe to its detriment. Let's say the point being, since we've been kind of like fresh, kind of a fresh jumping off point that we haven't really kind of gotten a flavor of since. I mean, even Shang-Chi is very much okay. The Mandarin, very big Iron Man draw, so it's kind of can't really use Shang-Chi ultimately. But my point is, really, 3 episodes in, this is like our first legit Easter egg to the MCU with Madripoor, which we said with Falcon Winter Soldier.
Pretty much.
It's pretty impressive.
Yep.
And like the only one. Everything else are like deep cut Moon Knight references, which again would make sense for a Moon Knight show. So not really like a big we're little Easter eggs to everything else, the universe we've built for 10 years.
I just find it kind of interesting that the main villain is a character that's only appeared once in the comics.
Yeah, that's the interesting thing.
I mean, I'll admit I read that tidbit. I haven't actually read the Moon Knight comics. So
no, I'm in the same boat with you, Jacob. I only know Moon Knight aesthetically. I've seen him pop up in things, and I like the style. I've seen him in some video games and stuff. Just again, he's always had a cool aesthetic, and I knew nothing about the character until some rudimentary. Like I've heard people describe the character to me, and they love him because of the whole DID, dissociative identity disorder thing, and basically saying that he's more than just Batman, than crazy Batman. But yeah, it's. But I'm with you. I knew that Haro was like kind of a low level, at the very least, a low level or very little used Moon Knight villain, and the fact that he's that we've given him so much depth and we made him a lot more interesting. It feels like they took kind of a blank slate character and like, how can we pump him up a little, make him interesting? And they've done so far. 3 episodes in, they seem to have done that rather well.
Ethan Hawke.
Of course, I mean when you get Ethan Hawke, I mean half the work's done for you already. I mean Gattaca, man, freaking Gattaca.
And that guy says that Avatar lore they had in the trial was very Eternals-esque.
Yeah, so that's the thing. That's another kind of thing where they, again, Madripoor is the only direct reference we got. Now, I think the rest is kind of speculatory. Now, again, I'm not saying that guy is saying, it's an Eternals pool, but there is some speculation as to what the overvoid and how the Egyptian gods inhabiting the Avatar bodies work. Like, why are they there? Are they? I think the speculation is that they're kind of offshoots of the Eternals. Like they're kind of in a place between Celestials and the Asgardian realms. Like the idea is like the overvoid is like kind of like a disparate branch from the Asgardian 9 realms tree, if you will. That kind of blended into just Egyptian mythology. So in that line of logic, it's like the Eternals that inspires our mythology, but being celestial. So they're kind of I like that we're not officially connecting it to anything. I like that it's kind of disparate, but
I just wonder how they were affected by the snap.
Yeah, that's the thing. All we really know about them is much like the Eternals, they've taken a very kind of hands-off approach. Which I will say this. So the trial is the only thing in the episode that it kind of has me, not for this reason, but just in general. It's like the trial, I think, is like the only close thing we've had to a weak link in the show so far, where it's like, hey, we're very hands off. Well, what if you're hands off? What are you doing there? Okay, the Eternals have like a destined purpose to be there. I mean, why are the Egyptian gods there? I mean, are they? I mean, again, Khonshu broke kind of broke the chain, so to speak, so he could kind of fight crime. That makes sense. Okay, so he's doing a proactive thing, and that's why they excommunicate him. But guys, I don't know, if you think it too, if you overthink it, that's gonna be like, okay, they're like the Watcher. Like, why does the Watcher do what he does? Well, he has like a cosmic destined purpose. So I mean, maybe there's something like that, but I don't know. I'd like to know, like, okay, why are we hands off? What are we doing here? Why are we stealing people's bodies? Because we feel so important that we have to be there, even though we can't interfere.
It is kind of weird.
Like the Watcher has a job. His job is literally to watch. Egyptian gods, I mean, it's the fact that the Eternals have kind of gummed up the works to a degree of like, okay, yeah, we're going to we're going to essentially kind of mold human evolution from a distance. I mean, that I kind of get. I don't know, the Egyptian gods, I mean, it feels like that should be their job, but now the Eternals kind of stole their thunder on that. So it's like, okay, hey, we created the pyramids. That was our shtick. We're basically enriching the world through Egyptian lore, but I don't know.
Well, maybe we'll find. Maybe we'll find out more once more episodes show up.
It's entirely, I agree, it's entirely possible. Okay, let's see. So let's see. Let's jump to okay, real quick.
If I thought the trial was just more for the sake of the actual gods themselves rather than like overseeing humanity.
Yeah, yeah. Let's jump to the trial for a second. I'm going to jump back to some of the Mark Spector stuff. But just talking about the trial, here's the thing. I thought it was a good idea that okay, so we're going to talk to the other Egyptian gods because it makes sense. Oh yeah, well there are other Egyptian gods who are trying to stop the summoning of another one. So yeah, there would be other ones, and I guess logically, they might inhabit bodies. So that's kind of a cool idea, the Avatar thing. So getting into that lore is really neat. And seeing how how they all have like an opinion about Khonshu, the excommunicated one and everything. But I do call BS on one plot element that feels like it's very much a plot necessity versus like versus like a kind of a natural story point. I mean, it's kind of a thing you think about after it happens, where it's like, hey, so obviously things aren't going well for Khonshu. They're not. Where he makes his case and he summons Haru, and Haru's a really good liar. But it's like, well, wait a minute. Can't you or Mark, can't one of you guys say, hey, he had a cane. He had a cane. Materialize the cane right now. Exhibit A, proof in the pudding, gift in a like millennium relic from a myth.
Yeah. Well, maybe it just didn't cross their mind at the time because about the whole situation and everything.
I know, that's the thing. I mean, I'm going to give it that buy, obviously, but ultimately, it's just like it's a little glaring because we've set up very well that this guy has that cane everywhere he goes. One scene he doesn't, so he can lie to the gods. I don't know. It feels a little like, wait a minute, we know that he has the cane. We've seen him use it. I mean, Conchu knows this. I don't know. But anywho, again, I won't split hairs.
All right.
All right, so just to go back to the action, just real quick. We spoke about how kind of I think in general it's really cool to see the different dynamic at play with Khonshu, like where Mark he's in action, he's a very can-do kind of guy. He's getting answers, and I love that instead of like running in fear in a storage locker in a storage unit kind of space from Khonshu, as hilarious and wonderfully visualized as that was, you know because it's not Steven, Mark Spector has a very intimate relationship with Khonshu because the idea is that Khonshu brought him back to life, and they're pals. They're kind of strained pals at the moment, but they're like they were the original power couple of the relationship here. Where he's like, hey, they just kind of chat about the mission at hand here versus like running and fearless reacting to, oh god, what's Khonshu doing now?
Yeah. And even Mark didn't want to have that kid hanging over the cliff.
Yeah, which so this is the big speculatory thing, Jake. Now, again, mind you, I do not know much about Moon Knight. Neither do you. I do a lot of people, honestly. I don't think a lot of people. I'm really getting the sense that Moon Knight is kind of an undervalued Marvel character. It's really what I'm getting here. I think he's more.
Well, and all it's doing is basically it's allowing them to have more free reign with how more with the characters and everything.
Which yes has played in Moon Knight's favor, which I'm so far I think has kind of been the key to the success of this thing so far. It's that basically. So there is again, as I mentioned, there are more than just three personalities with Moon. I don't know how many there are, so don't ask me. I think there's at least 4 to 5. I think the bare minimum there's 4. So there's this character called Jake Lockley, which people have been speculating about. So some people have theorized that when he's looking at security camera and Steven says that's not me. I believe our pal, the different Jacob. Oh, sorry, not that Jake. Sorry, I'm thinking of who was trying to think who was.
Mark?
No, I'm trying to think who was on the recaps with us last week because I know
Rohit.
Rohit. Thank you. Yes, so Rohit. Sorry, a lot of people we're preparing to bring onto the show, folks. I want to make sure I get it right. So yes, Rohit. He brought up the whole I don't think that's him saying that's Steven saying that's not me. That might not have been Mark, but instead could have been Jake Lockley.
Hmm.
So I mean, it's possible. It was just a look, so you couldn't tell. It was like a serious look. So yeah, my assumption, like I think, like many, was it was just Mark. Like, okay, it's just Mark after having fought the thing and walking out of there. But it is the point being, Jake Lockley, from what I understand, there's this guy and there's like a cab driver, so maybe five personalities total. But regardless, Jake Lockley's like a PI, he's like a detective, like a hard boiled detective type. So assumedly he took control, got some answers from those guys, and some people are wondering is did he get answers from those guys, and that's what happened when he blacked out, and it wasn't Steven's doing, or is he the guy that's killing people when they think it's Khonshu? Because remember, he wakes up. My assumption is that it's Khonshu, but if it's not, it could be a different personality.
That's a that's an interesting thought.
Yeah, I mean, I think the easiest answer is it's Khonshu, but then again, there's we keep building up that who knows how many people are in there, so we know there are more.
How many kids you got in there?
Yeah, see, you got my kind of dark reference there.
Oh, it's a great. I love that scene. Yeah. Oh, it's so funny. Anyway, Monsters Inc. references aside, kids.
Yeah. How many kids you got in there?
I can still hear a little voice.
God.
Okay, let's see. What was I going on?
But
All
then,
right.
but then even Mark of all people, this guy didn't want that dangle the kid over the cliff. That was interesting.
Yeah, and the fact that Khonshu was just so cavalier, like, I really thought he would talk, and that makes me think he's the bloodthirsty one. What I think is, again, we're showing that there is a dangerous element to Khonshu, and I think we kind of laid out almost like a Venn diagram or like kind of a barometer here. Okay, on one end of the spectrum is the sweetest can be Stephen Grant. Other end of the spectrum, the very vengeful justice that is
Mark
this.
Spector.
Well, no, that is Khonshu, and Mark Spector's in the middle because. Again, Mark Spector didn't want to toss that kid off a cliff. He didn't want to, as you said, he didn't want to, dangle that kid. And again, he's even he.
Well, the kid kind of did just cut himself off the cliff.
He did, but he did try to warn him before, like, no, kid, don't do it. Anyway, but the point being, the fact is, Mark is in an interesting place because again, I think Steven is acting as Mark's conscience.
I think from what I understand, from it looks like Steven only really does it when it's necessary. I mean, like Mark only does it when it's necessary. He doesn't like go looking for it.
Yeah, that's exactly. So that's something I think. What's so fascinating about this Mark Spector character, which I'm so glad this episode has kind of hit, is that Mark isn't like one way or another on the spectrum. That he is a kind of a blend of both and kind of questioning himself at this time. Which again, the ultimate kind of appeal of Moon Knight, from what I understand in most circles, is that ambiguity plays a big role. And that could he be. Ambiguity playing a big role in that he is like, is he crazy? Is he not? But more so in this case, who is the real guy? Is it Stephen Grant? Like, out of all these personalities, who's the real man? Like, who's the initial person? And in this case, I think the usual answer is Mark Spector, but there's Mark Spector questioning himself and who he is. So it's like an identity crisis in many respects. I think is being conveyed well here as he kind of questions his actions. Like, am I that bloodthirsty? Is Khonshu making me that? Do I like doing this? Is it like is it the Faustian bargain I made for life, or is it Khonshu, turning me really dark?
Based on what he said about the end, I mean, what is said at the end from Haro, it kind of throws that up in the air.
And again, I think the easiest comparison that's been made from us, from Tiki, myself, and I think a lot of people has been. Again, there is very much like a Venom kind of symbiote dynamic at play here with like you're sharing the body, the whole Avatar thing. So with that, again, there is sort of like you're doing this because you like it, sort of thing. There's kind of like an unhealthy relationship that forges, perhaps.
Like the parasite knows you better than you know yourself.
Exactly, which is a very scary idea. All right, let's see.
And I guess considering like what Haro said to Khonshu at the end, it's entirely possible that he might be exerting some influence there.
Jacob, we have some comments from that guy. Anything jump out at you?
Moon Knight is a character a lot of people think that looks cool and are intrigued by, but the concept, but few people actually know a lot about.
Guilty as charged, that guy, myself included.
As am I. Mark has a whole sitcom in his head.
Yep. Oh, it's great.
It's also a psychological horror in his head too.
Yeah, let's see a crossover. Let's see like the WandaVision crossover with just what's going on inside that head of Mark Spector's.
I mean, WandaVision itself was kind of It started off as like a second. It was like, oh wait, this is straight up psychological horror.
Let's do the Frasier episode of WandaVision and have Mark Spector be the guy on the couch or the guy on the phone.
He's like, okay, but question: is he actually bloodthirsty, or is that God thing where he's just so powerful and lived for so long that he just seems bloodthirsty and psychotic?
Yeah, that's the question.
It's hard. Gods live from what we've seen. There, gods live on different levels of morality.
So here's something that does inspire like a different talking point in the episode here. So remember, we have teed up a mystery. Now it's gonna be interesting to see how this pans out because I don't know the origin verbatim. I know essentially what happens, but the stuff that leads up to the origin, I'm not 100% on. So essentially, Mark had it was kind of like an Indiana Jones thing with with Marion and Indy, in which he knew her father and they kind of got together by proxy of that. Just kind of take that and mix it in with the Brendan Fraser mummy, and essentially you have Layla and Mark's dynamic. It seems
I
no.
still need to see those movies.
Oh, it's cool. Oh, you have yet to see those movies.
Yeah, I haven't seen the original Mummy movie or the Brendan Fraser ones.
Right.
Except for the Dragon Emperor, which is because I think my brother-in-law took me to see that once.
Okay. Anyway, so my point is we've teed up Haro teed up that Mark is keeping a secret from her, and it seems to be a really bad secret. Like when the truth comes out, something bad's going to happen. Now I'm thinking, from what I understand, in some tellings of the Moon Knight origin, Mark Spector again being a mercenary and being as good physically as he is at so many things, assumably we're keeping the mercenary aspect. And he has, he's maybe killed people. This question of how redeemable will Mark Spector be is kind of the question I'm kind of leaning towards here. And that there's a theory, not a theory. I believe I could be misremembering here, so we'll see how it goes. If they tell us that Mark might have been in a position where, when he became Moon Knight, he was on like an expedition with her father to find something, maybe the Scarab, maybe not, but on a journey to find something, and he ended up killing her father, and that might be the truth that Haro is talking about. Now, I'm not sure about that, but that's my theory in terms of what really bad thing that he feels guilty about could it be.
Speaking of the Scarab, I just want to figure out how it turned up in that German village in the first place.
Hold on, I'm trying to remember how well.
I don't.
Well,
It may have been mentioned. I just don't remember.
Well, it's not that. I mean, I don't. He didn't. I don't think he found it in the. I'm trying to remember where he found it because I don't think he found it. I think he had it on him.
Oh, maybe he did, but he woke up in that German village.
Oh, you're right, though. Yeah, he did. That's the thing. Assumably, Jacob, the implication is that once we've now confirmed, again, it played into the ambiguity of, oh God, is he hallucinating or not? But no, he actually went there. But he woke. He fell asleep. Stevens fell asleep between siestas here, in which he went to sleep. Mark Spector took his body on a 2-day adventure. Then he woke up in the bed and everything, all fastened, nice and tightly and everything. That's what happened there. Basically, went on a 2-day journey. He forgot his date and everything.
Yeah, that guy has a theory of the dark secret.
Okay, what's he got? Ha. Funny.
Yep.
All right, so but yeah, speaking of Layla, though, we spoke of her father. Layla, we saw her mom this episode. Her mom's kind of her partner in crime. She she makes her fake passports and stuff.
It's I didn't know that. I didn't really connect it that was her mom. I thought that was actually someone a close friend of hers. But
I think the implication is mother. I could have sworn she said mom at some point, but at the very least, the woman who knew knew her father very well. So.
I mean, that's how I saw it. I mean, it very well could have been her mom, but I didn't connect that particular dot.
Okay.
I mean, she very well could be.
Well, to the Brendan Fraser mummy thing from earlier, I just want to say, Layla giving me serious Rachel Wise vibes from the mummy, though. That had to be intentional in the casting, is the vibe they're going for. I mean, she is so almost nigh identical to Rachel Wise. It's crazy.
Well, I mean, it's probably drew inspiration from a lot of places. I mean,
oh, sure.
I mean, it's like a classic adventure wrapped in a
psychological horror drama.
Yeah. All right. Oh, by the way, so one thing, Layla, and we'll move forward in our story here is that, um, so it is basically Mark when he was chatting, basically kind of trying to kind of apologize for keeping her at a distance and everything. He said he had a handle on things until recently. Now, what I think happened is Khonshu eyeing Layla to be his replacement is basically why Steven, was aware of things and why the status quo kind of shifted. I think that's what happened. I think to me it signals that Mark is the actual body, and the fact that she was in danger freaked him out so much. He just kind of like things have gotten out of hand in terms of how he controls the system and everything,
And for
why
some
we're seeing things from Steven's perspective.
and for some reason he made Steven the dominant mind for a while.
Exactly. So I think all of that's kind of linked to that plot element. All right, so we should know, Jacob. Are you aware of the actor who passed away? Because he's in this episode. I just want to ask before we talk.
I mean, I wasn't aware of him before. I mean, I wasn't aware of him before. I don't think I've heard of him.
Okay, so Gaspard Ulio, if I'm saying his last name right, I'm probably butchering it.
Let's see.
Sorry about that.
Let's see. Hold on. Since it's French, it'd be Gaspard Ulliel, probably.
Yeah, so Gaspard Ulio. Yeah,
I think the D would be silent.
Oh,
I mean,
Well-
I'm not. Let's see. Yeah, the D is silent.
Gaspar Ulio. Okay, so Gaspar here, so of course I knew him from I knew him from one thing in particular. Jake. He was really good. The movie was not great, but he was really good in the Hannibal Rising movie, which is like the Hannibal Lecter prequel to his younger years as a young man. I don't know. I don't know if he was 26 when he passed or not. What happened was, I guess, Gaspar, he died tragically in a skiing accident. It was terrible.
He was 37.
Oh, 37. Okay, that makes sense. I think because I look at him, I'm thinking of someone. Maybe I'm thinking of Yelchin who passed at 26. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it was probably Yeltsin.
My point is,
Yep, Gaspar Ulliel. He also voiced Jack Frost in the French version of Rise of the Guardians.
get at it. Really?
Yeah, the French version anyway.
Well, I know, but it's still pretty impressive. Because I could absolutely see him being cast as that character if it were French. That's amazing.
Yep.
Anyway, so yeah, he was a great young Hannibal Lecter. So I knew about him going into this. So again, I was surprised. Like, oh look, there he is. So yes, he plays essentially Midnight Man. In the comics, he was a character called Midnight Man who was an art thief. So here we've made him kind of a relic thief of sorts.
Almost like a black market guy.
Yeah, exactly. And again, he would be like the idea is she met him through Madripoor. So Madripoor.
I kind of missed the Madripoor when I was watching it. I didn't miss that. I missed the connection there.
Yeah, I mean, again, it kind of stood out because, oh man, we have not mentioned anything from the MCU until this point, so it's like it kind of jumped out at me.
It's like, well, they probably had to throw it in some connections somewhere.
I really want us to do. I'm not just saying Madripoor for the Wolverineville. I'm just saying in general, Madripoor is a great location. I just like to go there more.
Yep.
Anyway, so
It was a shame that he died in that skiing accident.
yeah, indeed it is.
It would have been interesting to see more of him because he seemed like he didn't die in this episode. So.
Well, what they did is sadly he's kind of ambiguously dead. So I'm pretty sure they're going to elect to probably keep him dead because he was hit by the moonerang in the distance, but he kind of like the horse was still going, and he basically faded into darkness. So we didn't see if he fell off or he died or anything. So
yeah.
So I mean, but unfortunately now I think there's going to be in a position where unless he shows up later in the season, he's most likely dead.
And they might find some way to recast him, or maybe they'll keep him dead to honor his memory.
That's the thing. It's sure. Okay. Speaking of which, that guy he wants to talk about Haro. As he says, Ethan Hawke is killing it as the villain of the piece.
We mentioned that before, but yes, he is.
Yeah, I mean, just to kind of elaborate a little bit here. So again, we already mentioned he kind of charmed the heck out of the Egyptian gods. Well, again, his big in there was the fact that I don't like Khonshu either. I had the guts to leave that guy, and he was in my body.
It's like, well, what if it's entirely possible that he was doing something that even Khonshu didn't approve of?
I mean, that's saying something, isn't it?
I mean, that's entirely possible that he's it's his story from his perspective, but what if the truth is that he was abusing his? He said, "I enjoyed inflicting pain and all that." He said he enjoyed that. But what if he was like inflicting so much that even Khonshu had to put a stop to it?
I think that's true. I think that's right, and that's saying something. If you're the big kind of Egyptian moon god of vengeance, if you're too much for him, that's saying something.
I mean, you usually don't go from inflicting pain to like stopping evil by killing people before it starts.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, I do like that idea, though. That's what I'm really loving. I'm loving the ideology of this guy. Is the fact that I think they won a lot of points with him in the second episode where he laid out everything he believes in. So we've been really been laying the track with this guy very well. He Anyway, so the Haru has a big moment at the end of the episode where he kind of got the last laugh over Khonshu, who is basically trapped in a statue, and he's kind of laying out the whole like the idea of a guy who's forged a relationship with pain thanks to Khonshu, and Khonshu unleashed that in him.
Yeah.
And like he's the value of healing, and basically the whole character, like the little bit that we did get from him in the comics, like the one line sells that the guy who specializes in the study of pain, stuff like that. So we start the series with him with the glass and the slippers, which it's been very memorable. So we're definitely saying something about how he views pain in the world and how to stop that pain, like how to, there's a kind of a scarecrow element. It's kind of a cross between the scarecrow and Ra's al Ghul with this guy in terms of the study of pain and how he wants to go about ridding the world of it.
But is it anything similar to like a Deacon Blackfire? I believe his name is.
Oh, you're right. Deacon Blackfire is more of a Deacon Blackfire is like a religious zealot. So in that respect,
I know he's more of a cult than
Yeah.
technically this is a cult too. So
that's what I'm saying. I think that is actually a really good comparison. Yes, there's a lot of Deacon Blackfire.
I mean, since he's a Batman villain, you'd know more about that than I would. So I was just wondering if that was an apt comparison.
No, that's a very apt comparison. Deacon Blackfire's not really my guy though, because he's kind of like a messy cult. Yeah, one, I'm not a big cult guy first and foremost, but secondly, it's just he was always like, I think most interpretations of Deacon Blackfire are like, he's kind of like a messy, unkempt, like pretty much almost like a Charles Manson type. It's like, oh man, that's kind of
because my only thing I'm familiar with him is like he was an Arkham Knight.
That's the main thing I'm going towards in like the recent like Deacon Black. That's the only time he's been adapted.
And I know he was also like in several comics, like mainly the Cult.
Yeah, the Cult is his big break. Basically, he's been notably he's in that. He's in Batman Eternal, and he's in and he's in the Arkham Knight game. Those are the big three like go tos for Deacon Blackfire.
All right, okay, we should probably talk about something other than Batman.
Point being,
which is funnily enough because Moon Knight's been compared to Batman.
Yeah, speaking of which, some of our Moon Knight team up action looked really great, and again, borrowed a little bit from the Batman. We had that awesome cape shot, but difference from Batman, it's in the shape of a moon when he jumps and he strikes the gliding landing. It's a little thing, folks, but it's so darn cool. It's in the shape of a moon.
The crescent moon.
Yes, and he has the moonerang.
Yeah.
Which he pulls from his chest, which also, I don't know who's riding whose coattails here. I'm thinking Batman looking the Moon Knight a little bit here. I'm not sure how it worked in the comic. I don't know, but
about Batman always that isn't his utility belt.
But I'm just saying, in the Batman, the movie recently, pulls it from the chest. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, that is just a coincidence.
I just love that he seems to have like an endless supply of them, or they're coming back and we're just not seeing the catch. He's just gonna keep pulling these moon rings.
Well, considering they basically magic, it can be excused.
I know, and I have no problem with that. I'm just saying I think it's really cool.
I mean, it's cool too. I'm just saying, I think the fact that it happens, it can be excused. Like it's magic.
I think one thing I really want to see though, I want to see Mr. Knight, which again, it was a big stylistic thing I was looking forward to in the show, seeing him in this suit and seeing what we're doing with it. I love that he had those batons when he first appeared. So I hope he gets to use those batons. And can you imagine if he ran into Daredevil while he had those batons? When he had the billy clubs, it'd be awesome. It's the simple things sometimes, folks. Just want to see two guys with billy clubs kind of hit each other.
Yeah.
Show off for a second.
Although I doubt that I doubt that Daredevil would, antagonize Moon Knight.
Oh no, of course not. But it's at the very least they'd fight together with both armed with billy clubs or something like that. I don't know.
That would be nice. I mean, I'm still hoping to see Matt Murdock in She-Hulk.
Oh, he's got to be in She-Hulk. I'm pretty sure they've all been confirmed. He's going to be in a number of episodes in I read that somewhere. I don't know how true it is, but they say Matt Murdock at least is going to appear in multiple episodes of She-Hulk. So,
I mean, we already got Charlie Cox back, so it's only a matter of time.
Exactly. Oh God, all the possibilities. I know they're shooting Echo right now. No, I can't wait for that.
And I think they already brought in Vincent as well. So,
Oh yeah.
like I said, it's only a matter of time.
Yep, and again, a lot of people speculate Echo, if not already a backdoor Daredevil season 4, might lead way to finally a official Daredevil season, like coming. Like I don't know.
I think it could be like how they're doing with Deadpool 3, and it's like, while the original ones aren't canon to the MCU, this one could be.
And we'll see. I mean, Echo's going to tell us everything we need to know about like the state of like where exactly we're doing with Daredevil. We're getting off topic. Okay, just
Yeah,
to refocus here. So,
sorry.
um, okay, let's see. I'm trying to think of like the major stuff that we. Oh yeah, so honestly, the way we kind of shift between Moon Knights is really cool.
And we also haven't talked about like the source of our image here.
Well, yeah, but just the build to that. So it's again like with the fact that we get Mister Knight again. So the fact that there's been like a lot of tension between
It's kind of interesting that like basically Mark is Moon Knight and Steven is Mr. Knight.
Yeah, and what I really like is that Steven's been really kind of like in the corner in all the reflections again, kind of acting as the conscience. But I love that Steven, beyond that, he is his Egyptology comes in handy majorly. When they're looking at the sarcophagus and finding with the star chart and everything, which basically brings us to our image here.
It is kind of odd that an ancient Egyptian map is in the shape of like a cartoon star, though.
Well, no, I think that was just Steven being cute. That's what I really think it was.
I mean, maybe, but if it actually was, I mean, then you meant it. Maybe it was like I was half joking, half serious when I said that.
I really just think it's like Steven
But I'm just saying, if ancient Egyptians actually made a map in the shape of a cartoon star,
no.
I'm just saying that'd be pretty funny.
I was thinking it's got to be Stephen Grant going like, well, we're looking for stars. I thought I'd make a little star. If I'm gonna tape it, make it look all pretty and stuff.
Well, I mean, it worked, whatever it is.
Yeah, oh, indeed it did. Indeed it did.
And I do like the justification. Do like the real world logic they applied. They're like the Egyptians did make a star map, but but the stars were like that was based on their position 2,000 years ago, several thousand years ago.
I think it's funny because we referenced it in the first episode very lightly but awesomely when we talked about both forms of Avatar and pop culture. Both the blue cat one and more importantly the animated one.
They called it an anime even though it's not anime.
I know. I love the fact that they're kind of fed into a little bit of fandom there of like, oh, just he's close, but he's not all the way there, but he's close.
It's an animated series, not technically anime. It's like it can be a general term, but usually it's referring to animated series from Japan.
Yeah, but especially if he's not like familiar. It sounds like he's vaguely familiar with the show with Stephen Grant, so he'd probably like, oh yeah, like at first glance, oh yeah, the anime. But no, Stephen, you got to watch the whole thing.
Yeah, it's not an anime.
Anyway, point being, I love it.
And I feel like the whole Avatar, as in the blue people, was kind of like it's like yeah, we get it. They own that too now.
Mm-hmm.
Possibly, I don't know. Or it was like too much of an opportunity to pass up the reference.
Yeah, I mean, literally, they're gonna have, they're using Avatar in the Egyptian sense, so they got it. They got to draw reference to it at least once in the show. They got to draw reference to, yeah, we have the rights. Let's say it. Because I mean, it's gonna be on everyone's mind.
Technically, they don't have the rights to the Airbender either, but they probably just skirted around that by saying like, "Oh, the anime." Like they probably couldn't say Last Airbender, but you just it's like, "Oh, that's what he's talking about." The show.
Yeah, sure.
Anyway,
okay, my point.
Yeah.
Like Avatar: The Last Airbender, our big climax here, which is awesomely, it's a great visual, by the way. Just our great. It's very much like the library episode of Avatar: The Last Airbender, where we looked for the day of the eclipse, and they went back in time hundreds and hundreds of years ago.
That pretty much is like one of the best episodes.
Oh yeah, but it's a great one, yeah. So it's just the fact that it's very, very indicative of that, where it's like, okay, we're gonna go back thousands of years in terms of where the stars were aligned, so we can find the location. But seriously, this in general, I love that we kind of set up that, okay, what's the moon god gonna do to get the other god's attention? What's gonna cause an eclipse, like spur of the moment? It's gonna freak everyone out post Thanos, which is really funny.
And like I said, it is kind of like based in real world logic too. Like I said, Egyptian men, yes, their maps would be accurately based on the stars, but stars' positions obviously shift over time.
And again, it's the fact that our moon god can influence the moon that makes a lot of sense to me. And I really dig that. And again, I love what I love most about this, and I think I can't blend this. I can't make full heads or tails of the episode title except for reading into it this way. It's called the friendly type. Now, I like to think that speaks to perhaps I think it's basically talking about Khonshu's relationship with these personalities. That's what I think ultimately the friendly type is. In that, it's like, hey, Khonshu's kind of coming around on Stephen Grant in this kind of really great moment, sacrificial moment of like, okay, look, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna get in trouble. They're gonna put me in a statue. Tell Mark to free me. And it's not like he was kind of teeing up the whole "I told you so" thing, where Mark was joking early. Oh yeah, they put you in a statue. Good news for me. And now it's in a very dramatic context. And the fact that he's working with Steven, who just kept calling the idiots in control, and all this is happening, but it's like a teachable moment. They're bonding for a mere moment of like, let's arrange the stars. You feel that power? We're working together here. We're gonna save the day. Yay us. I don't know. It was a sweet moment of Khonshu kind of coming around on this guy.
And it is a good reminder that Khonshu is actually, well, a god.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, not just like some random being that Steven sees.
Yeah, but again, I love how just in terms of our pacing, just with the show so far, I just love that right in the middle, we are in a very hopeless position here where we've lost Khonshu, which means by process of elimination, Moon Knight is off the table right now. Our guys can't suit up.
It is kind of interesting that, like, one of the things that people have talked about recently is like about the shows that they do have some kind of pacing issues, being a series and all.
Yeah.
But I think like being the first show to actually not be based on a pre-existing movie character, I think that's actually kind of helped this series a bit.
I mean, again, it feels like you're watching a new story for the first time. That's really what I can't help but I don't mean to belabor it yet again, but it's just still the.
You get where I'm coming from, though.
I think I do. I think I do.
And I mean, this is technically the first Disney Plus Marvel series to not be based on a character from one that had been previously in one of the movies.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, heck, technically Loki wasn't the main star, but
Yeah. No, I hear your point. Yeah.
but even then, that show did kind of like jump around a lot and have a bit of pacing problems.
Yeah.
So, but this show's like it's the first one, and I think they actually found a way to suit this character to the format. Now the problem will be like, does that mean this character will be suited for a theatrical format?
I think so. I think ultimately Moon Knight, it's probably going to be. Ultimately, Moon Knight's going to be a path to doing one of two things, I'd imagine. I think the most logical thing we're going to end, we're kind of building to with Moon Knight is we're going to tie in our horror based characters, and we're going to have kind of like a Universal Monsters assortment. Like we're going to have Blade the Vampire, we're going to have Moon Knight, who essentially is our mummy, and
Never thought of it like that.
I'd say like they're going to do like a Werewolf by Night Halloween special, which in the comics I believe is where Moon Knight first appeared in the Werewolf by Night comics. So there's so that's the thing. We're kind of the point being all of our supernatural, assumingly Ghost Rider as well. So like Ghost Rider, Moon Knight, and Blade, those guys would all be kind of commingling eventually. Be my guess. Now, other possible alternative. We take another stab at the Defenders, in which we'd have a Daredevil, a Moon Knight, and I mean, we'll see where else we go. Maybe She-Hulk is on that, it kind of is in that eclectic bunch. I'm not sure, but the point being, we'd have like an assortment of a new lineup of Defenders. Word is Jessica Jones is going to be in She-Hulk as well. It's not confirmed, but I'm hopeful. I'd love to see that.
It could be like the convergence of the Netflix shows.
That's what I'm saying. It sounds like they're going to basically a lot of at least half of our Netflix shows will be lumped into She-Hulk, which I'm all aboard for.
I mean, because they did get majority of the actors to like do the promotional stuff for the show. For their appearances on Disney Plus.
Exactly.
So that means Marvel's at least in contact with them still.
I mean, the thing is, Kristen Ritter, she was seen in the Jessica Jones jacket, which mind you, is just a black jacket, so it's kind of hard to tell. Like, okay, is she doing something, or is she just like doing a little throwback advertisement? Hey, Jessica Jones is back, or maybe, hey, Jessica Jones is coming back. I don't know.
We're back to speculation again.
Well, still, but I'm using that as a bridge here. Here's what I want to see in this season, or at least in this, the show. So with our pacing, again, Act 1 has already been taken care of, which we know everything we need to know about. Okay, so we know what horror is all about. We've had the introduction to kind of our split personality thing. we're at the halfway mark, and we have our dilemma. Okay, we've taken away Khonshu, which means Haru is about to revive Mitt, and we got to try to undo that. It's going to be Act 2. And Act 3 is going to be, okay, how the heck do we stop Haru, who assumably is going to succeed because Moon Knight's been taken out of the equation in Act 2. Now, the big thing I want to happen, either in episodes 4 or 5, not the last one, either 4 or 5. Not going to write that in granite like it can't happen in 6. Sorry, I meant 6. That can't happen in 6, but I want the flashback to Moon Knight's origin. I want that to maybe be an episode. Again, like I don't want to. I'm not saying we put him in a back to tank like every episode, but just at least for one episode, give me one flashback episode to offset the. Like, think about this, Jacob. Next episode, while we don't have Moon Knight, we offset it with the origin of Moon Knight. And that's how we get Moon Knight in there, and then we deal with one episode in which, okay, so we have no Moon Knight in our current day story, and then we remedy that.
That could work.
That's my thinking. Either that or, okay, the truth, whatever. Like, basically, we tee up. Okay, Layla's helping Mark through his problem right now, and then the penultimate episode is like, okay, the truth has come out. Here's what happened, and then that brings us to our finale. We have to reconcile how we feel about things and what are we saying about ourselves. Like, what's the answer to our identity story? So those are the ways I see that flashback episode going. All I know is I want that flashback episode in there somewhere. Because I really think that's the key to this show. People see that. Anyone who's like going into the show wondering, I'm getting a little lost in this. What are the multiple personalities about? Yeah, if they can put that bow on the story, I think it's going to be really spectacular.
I can see where you're coming from on that.
That's just my 2 cents.
It would be kind of interesting to see where Moon Knight did come from. I mean, it's kind of. I mean, obviously, it's an avatar of Khonshu, and that's how Khonshu is choosing to portray his avatars as.
I mean, we've talked it up, but I kind of have to see it. That's the big thing. Like all the other Marvel characters, we've had the big moments. We've seen their origins. We haven't seen.
You mean like why Khonshu chose Mark in the first place?
I mean, essentially, yes. I want to see kind of like the hand of God coming down to touch the mortal man. That's what I want to see. I want to see Mark Spector dying in like an Egyptian cave. Well, not like an Egyptian tomb of some kind, or what have you. And basically dying, and Khonshu comes to him with an offer. That's what I want to see.
Yeah. Hopefully we do see that. And if it, currently another season or anything else is up in the air right now.
Right. I mean, I know there's a lot of speculation if Oscar Isaac is just doing a one and done for this. I mean, we'll see. It'd be kind of weird if it were a one and done, just given how good he is. Secondly, like
he does well acting with his brother.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously. I mean, he's like he has a twin brother, and they do a lot of the back and forth stuff together.
Wait, really?
Yep.
He has a twin brother.
Yep, he does.
You're not putting me on right now. He has a twin brother.
As far as I know, he does.
Crazy. Wow.
Let's see.
Anyway, point being, it just seems like it's going really well for him, and he seems like so tailor-made for this versus kind of being given the shaft as Poe Dameron of like, hey, Poe, you want stuff to do? Yeah. You want to just kind of be popped in on from time to time? Yeah.
Well, he has a younger brother.
Okay, well, I believe you.
Yeah.
My point is,
that's as far as I know. That I could be. I guess I might have misread something, but the fact that they look kind of similar, like, allowed them to do that.
My point is, it would seem really weird if he kind of gave it up cold turkey after a really successful run on this show. It seems, at the very least, the successful performance of a character.
Yeah.
And by the way, before we get out of here, one last thing from the episode I really got to mention is like how hilarious was it when he was being impaled? He's okay though. He's just being impaled.
It's like you mean how Steven wanted to take over. It's like let's all calm down. Let's all stop. And then he got stuck. It's like Mark, take over.
Yeah, that just cracked me up so much.
it's like one of the few times he's like willingly let Mark take over.
Yep.
It's like well, being stabbed, you take over.
God.
It's like it was more like a minor inconvenience, but still.
Loved it. Just loved it.
Yeah, that was actually a good use of that. It's like okay, you can take over now, Mark. Like they're not going to listen to me.
Yeah.
Mutale's here.
Hey, I think he's saying. He's saying Ethan Hawke is really good. Yes, he is Mutale. Yes.
Yep. Thank you for joining us, and we're about to close off.
Yeah. Sorry about that, Mutale. You might have to go back and listen from the start because we talk about how great Hawk is. Kind of throughout.
Yeah,
But yeah.
he was really good. He's doing pretty good as a villain, and like I said, the fact that the character itself hadn't appeared in a lot of the comics actually probably gave a lot of room for interpretation.
Yep.
Basically, they said like a lot of their ideas are allowed to go wild with how they interpreted a lot of these characters.
Yeah, because a lot of them are little known, or like Haro particularly is like kind of a one and done sort of Moon Knight villain, from what I understand. It's kind of like okay, he popped up and he's just kind of a guy, and we can a guy with a pain obsession.
Yeah, well, a little different here.
Much more interesting here.
Yeah, like he's wanting to solve pain, and but the way he's doing it is like he's nipping evil before it becomes evil. Which
Yeah.
there's a little moral ambiguity there. Kind of like I discussed with my family. I would like it reminds me of a lot of Minority Report.
Oh, there's absolutely a Minority Report vibe. Tiki actually brought that up last episode as well.
Yeah. Oh, nice.
Huh.
Like the morality of it is it actually a crime if it happened yet? If it hasn't happened yet?
Yeah, then again, putting a lot of faith in an Egyptian god. I'll point this out too, by the way. When he took that when we took the scarab from the homeless guy last episode, I mean that he says, "Hey, I'll give you anything you want," and he took it, and he instantly what was his word? He killed that guy. I don't think there's as much honor in Haro as he might think. As he might think.
Well, we'll see.
I know. Yeah, we will see. We'll see indeed. I think. Honestly, I'm going to tee this up, and then we'll close out. I think the big question with Moon Knight is when we get to our last episode, we get to our finale, is it going to be kind of a Black Panther kind of climax in which it's going to be two guys in kind of in our suits here just fighting each other, like kind of like an Amit version of the Moon Knight costume, or is it going to be something more?
Like he's like he's going to be the avatar of Amit.
Yeah, essentially, will Amit have like kind of like a Moon Knight sort of armor suit thing that'll be on Haro and they'll be beating the crap? Or will they be beating the crap at each other? Or will it be the ideological kind of like?
And how does Osiris fit into all this?
Yeah.
Like, why is he? He seems to be on either sympathetic with Haro or on his side, like planning the whole thing.
My inkling is that he's sympathetic because they're all viewing Khonshu as like there's the crazy guy in the room, like, oh, he tortured this poor man to the point where he had to get out of being his victim. Yeah, that's why he left. And of course, Haru's just playing the violin strings on that one.
Like, and he actually did pull an interesting tactic where like he kind of like he never outright admitted to lying, but he never denied it either. Like he just deflected everything onto Mark and took everything from there.
Hmm.
So it's like technically he never lied to them, but he never outright told the truth.
Exactly. I mean, yeah, you're right. Didn't he? He just basically just redirected the line of questioning. So you're right. Didn't necessarily lie, but again, there's definitely something really huge he left out. They point blank asked me like, hey, they point blank asked him, hey, are you trying to raise a mitt? And he didn't answer. So
he's like, I was in the desert,
which is true.
But that's what he was doing in the desert.
Yep. And again, I just still say like, hey, he had a cane with him. Materialize the cane. But again,
he could easily feign that though.
Oh yeah, but it's like it's like, hey, no, materials his cane. Look at that, clearly emits cane. Look at it glowing all the purple energy and everything. That's very scary. You atomized the mummy.
Mutale's pointed something out. Like, now there's a shot in the spots of Haro and Moon Knight running towards each other, so maybe.
I mean, we'll see. Yeah,
and regarding our speculation of them of the avatars fighting each other.
Yeah, we'll see. And I'm not trying to say like that's going to instantly dive bomb. Like, oh, it's going to be another. But I'm just saying if it's going to be a fight, hopefully it's going to be a fight that says something about kind of pain and justice, which is kind of what the themes of the show have been about. I hope it doesn't turn into just like and they're just kind of like they're in verses and they're fighting. I just want it to be a little bit I want to be about what they're fighting about. I don't know.
That makes sense.
I don't want it to just be fighty fight. I want it to be like in a fight with the drama and poetry behind it.
Yeah, I see what you mean there.
All right, Jacob, thank the folks, would you?
All right, thank you. Thank you, everyone who's tuning in now and whenever you watch this video in the future. Currently, that guy in Mutale. Thank you for joining us this evening.
Yes. All right, so that'll do it for us this week as we holster our remotes till the next installment calls for the draw, mano a mano, just plus and us.
I was hoping he would talk.